so much for the opportunity to be here to speak to you. I'm Joel Willet, running for the U.S. Senate. That's the seat that Mitch McConnell has had since I was 5 months old. Half of my face is now gray. Mitch McConnell is still a U.S. Senator from the state of Kentucky, so we're really excited about the opportunity to flip this seat. As Warren said, I grew up in Valley Station. My dad is an iron worker, a Golden Gloves boxer. 10-year-old me would tell you he was an incredible baseball coach. My mom worked in hospitals taking care of people. They both worked really hard to provide for me and my sister. They struggled to make ends meet. Over the course of my life, I would come to understand that they had struggled with opioid addiction from a fairly early point in my life, what is tragically an all too familiar Kentucky story, as doctors pushed increasingly potent painkillers into our communities decade after decade. I eventually lost my father to a fentanyl overdose in 2019, one of the most painful things that has ever happened to me. But all of that could have happened to me as well, except I was one of the lucky ones. I was able to escape the quicksand of generational addiction and poverty because of our institutions in this country. I had a strong church family. I had great-grandparents who took care of me. I joined the Army National Guard when I was 17. It was a couple months after 9/11. My mom signed that paperwork. As a father today, I can't imagine how hard that was for her to do in a time of national crisis. I went on to serve, as you heard, in the FBI, working in counterterrorism, and then in the Directorate of Operations at the CIA, managing global intelligence collection operations in the Balkans, Baltics, Southeast Asia, Western European capitals. My last year in government was spent in the White House Situation Room, working in President Obama's second term on issues related to keeping us safe from Iran and Russian intelligence operations. When I left government, I went into the private sector. I have run businesses that have put hundreds of people to work every day. I know what it takes to run and grow businesses and take care of your employees at the same time. I told you I've tracked Russian intelligence and the Iranian nuclear program, but I'm here to tell you tonight that the biggest threat we are facing in this country is not from abroad. It is the economic war being waged on working families right here in the US. When you can't afford a home, when your wages aren't keeping up with costs, when you're working 40 and 60-hour weeks just to put food on the table and not have any time left over to spend with your kids, that is a national security threat. That is not freedom.
No.
As Franklin Roosevelt said, necessitous men are not free men. So we've got a lot of work to do, and I'm excited to represent this state in Washington to reverse this unconscionable $4 trillion tax cut that's given to the 10 billionaires that serve in Donald Trump's cabinet. They're not like the average Kentucky voter. They don't like the average Kentucky voter, and they're paying for this tax cut by taking money out of the pockets of programs like Medicaid and essential services that our government provides. It's immoral, it's unconscionable. We got to do something about it.
Hear, hear.
And we got to do all of that under the cloud of creeping authoritarianism, because right now in this country, I don't believe we any longer have a right to free speech. 2 months ago, Tulsi Gabbard, our Director of National Intelligence, who's supposed to have better things to do, said that at the direction of Donald Trump, she was revoking my security clearance that I've had in some form or another since I was 17 years old. Why did she do that? Because I said something mean about Donald Trump 6 years ago that he couldn't handle in the Washington Post, and because they found out that I had the audacity to think about running for the U.S. Senate in Kentucky to speak up for working class families like the one that I grew up in. We've got a lot of work to do. It is going to be a hard fight, but when you've come from nothing, when you've had to fight for everything that you've ever had, like I did, like so many in this room have, you don't give up, you fight harder, and that's exactly what I'm going to do.
Let's do it.
I'm Joel Willet, I'm running for the Senate, and I would love your support in doing that.
I would love to have you all give a warm welcome to Drew Williams.
Woo!
I'd like to give it up to Lauren. Her introductions are so detailed that some of us don't even need to stand up here. So, Lauren, really appreciate that, and everybody knows a lot more about me than I can probably tell you. Hello, my fellow Democrats. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Drew Williams. I'm running for the 1st United States House Representative here in Western Kentucky and Central Kentucky. It is a very gerrymandered district. It includes everything but Bowling Green and Owensboro to fortify our communities against this hateful rhetoric. Tonight we're here to fellowship and raise donations for our local party, but we're also about to talk about what comes next. 2026 is a huge election year across every bit of this country, and I'm sure you've all been hit with the endless Facebook ads and text messages and call banks I know that I've been getting Graham Plattner and James Talarico and redistricting ads for California. I don't know how I can help in that besides giving them some money, but anybody else have some unique ones that you just keep getting hit with? Yeah, Alaska, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so it's very interesting. From what I've seen, the energy that they are showing in their districts, in their ads, in their space, that has been growing in our community as well. I've been traveling across this congressional district since March, and I've seen firsthand that many of the people here in Kentucky, just like you and me, are ready. They're ready to get activated. They're ready to have something to fight for. They're ready to stop feeling like a blue dot in an ocean of red, and instead become that blue wave that lifts up all boats in our shared prosperity. Sure. But Kentucky is in dire need of help. We must bring our county parties together for more joint actions. People are from all over coming to these events. We need to continue to support them in smaller communities and help lift up their county parties as well. We need to help share best practices. We need to be proactive in supporting candidates up and down the ballot, both as the party and as individuals. And we have to extend our outreach into more neighborhoods and more communities than ever before. We're going to have to make this a very concerted effort. We're going to have to be doing stuff every week if we want to see things change. It's not going to magically show up in next November and us have this goal. We are going to have to fight for it. We're going to have to get in those trenches. We need candidates up and down the ballot that are willing to put their names forward, to knock on doors, to fight for working class solutions to the problems our families face every single day. An empty ballot is a defeated ballot and a defeated community without the opportunity to vote. And you can be a better option. Just being there changes everything, and you don't have to raise tens of thousands of dollars or change who you are or have an agenda that's as busy as some of ours is right now. I know that we're going everywhere, and that's kind of a big point, but you do what you can for your community, and the people in this room will back you. The people in this room have your faith in you, that you can change the spaces that we're in, right? And it's going to take all of us. Everywhere I go, I talk about hunger, housing, financial stability, healthcare, obviously, it's a consistent fight, innovations in farming and reviving our rural town main streets, issues that we can all get along, ways that we can make our communities feel connected and whole again, where every paycheck isn't a vital necessity, every surprise bill or grocery visit isn't a shockwave to our families and households. I talk about campaign finance reform, getting dark money and special interests out of politics, about reforming our Congress so that it works for the people's agenda, and so that working class folks can run for office. I'll tell you, as somebody who does construction work, it is incredibly hard to run for office if you don't have millionaire friends or shoulders you've rubbed or a war chest or a network in your pocket. That becomes a huge crux on people, and we have to fundamentally change this system so that everyday people, the people that are represented in this room, get an opportunity to represent us in the higher offices and spaces. I talk about protecting our civil and personal liberties, about standing with those who are marginalized, disenfranchised, or dismissed by a system that too often sees them as obstacles rather than allies. So let me be clear to you here that I am here for you. I am here for solutions that work, solutions that restore hope and dignity and domestic tranquility to the people of America. I'm not here for special interests, personal gain, or party politics. The people of this district are the only ones that I serve. I believe that 2026 is our moment, our opportunity to come back to the table and rebuild trust and to vote for a more empathetic, prosperous, and connected Kentucky. We're not on the sidelines anymore. We're on the front lines and in the trenches, and we're fighting to make a better generation for our future, or a better future for our generations ahead. And I'm here in that fight with you. Again, my name is Drew Williams, and I appreciate your vote, your support, and your faith in our movement here tonight. Woo!
Oh man, I'm shorter than the other guys. This is perfect for me. Before I talk to y'all tonight about anything, I came across the stage today with my 8-year-old son Remy and my wife Andrea are back there. Would you all just make them feel welcome? Thank you for letting us be a part of your evening here. In addition to fried fish, just good times with good people is pretty great. And I think that Lauren allowed me to come and speak with you to talk about that it is possible for Democrats to flip districts, to flip red districts in a state that is perceived to be as red as Kentucky is. And also, I want to talk to you about why it's important that we do flip those districts. What is possible when Drew, whose wristband I got here, flips the 1st congressional district next year. So, I don't know that I was bound to run for office. I grew up in rural Clayton County between railroad tracks and tobacco fields, and nothing special. But my parents, they're the reason I'm here. And they instilled in my sister and I, you know, it's not the size of your house or the car in your driveway. It is, do you work hard? Do you treat people right? And I just try to live up to that expectation of them every day. Here at Murray State, when I went to D.C. to work on Capitol Hill, when I served in the Army, both here and abroad in Africa and Afghanistan, when I came back and worked as a project manager, now as a fitness coach for my clients, which I've been doing for 10 years, and I try to do that as best as I can. I'm sure I fail a little bit every day as a father to that boy and as a husband to my wonderful wife back there. But that is still the through line, just trying to work hard and treat people right. And I wanted to make more of an impact in their life if I could. And I lived in a district that was getting purpler and purpler and purpler. And in 2020, it was 51-49. The Dems almost took it. And then they redistricted it. The Republicans, they got a little scared. They brought in some Jessamine County. Those who don't know, that's the rural area next to where I live. And so no Democrat ran in 2022. Now, we've got this thing in Kentucky called a supermajority. Any of y'all heard of a supermajority before? Yeah. I do not care for them. And so I wasn't really running as to be against the man in that seat. I wasn't really running against some of the things we do. I was running against the supermajority. I was running for there to be a healthy democracy. I was running to have someone's name on the ballot so the people in the 45th House District could have another box to check and actually make their voice heard that November day. Now, I didn't know what the heck to do, but I pretended that I did for Lauren. I tried to help her. But I just started showing up to the county party where I would work in the office, and we would write postcards for Governor Beshear, where we would go and we would knock doors for Governor Beshear, where we would table at events, where we would march in parades, where we would go to town halls and forums, and little by little, putting in the work, putting in the work, putting in the work. And when you put all of that stuff together, at the end of the day, out of more than 25,000 votes, I had the opportunity to become the only Democrat to flip a seat in the state of Kentucky by 172 votes. Now, I think there are many things that went into that, but I think some things that might translate here today is talking about our service. We have some great Senate candidates here who have served their nation already in the CIA, in the Secret Service. I talked about my military service just to let them know that I served before and I want to serve you again. I think that opened doors. I talked about the reason that I'm a Democrat because y'all can bring me up on stage. I was not always a Democrat. My first job in politics was when I went to D.C. for graduate school. I interned for Senator Mitch McConnell. One of you take a seat. And then after my military service, I came back to D.C. I actually worked on military affairs, veterans affairs, homeland security for Republican Congressman of the 1st Congressional District, Ed Whitfield. And the reason I was Republican, it was very simple at the time. I was 18 and I was a Christian, so I must be a Republican, right? It was a super simple thing, I thought. But as I lived my life, as I served my country in uniform, as I worked in jobs, as I became a husband and a father, and I saw what it was to work in the world, I realized I cared about my son and every kid. I ought to have the opportunity for a great education right here in Kentucky. That my wife and I ought to have fair pay for fair work. That if we get sick, we get injured, that we ought to be able to afford health care and get in to see a doctor without going broke. And at the end of the day, my parents are 70 and 72. They should be able to retire in dignity, not in poverty. And that's something that should be available to every American and every Kentuckian as well. And I woke up one day and I said, I'm not a Republican. I'm a New Deal Democrat. I think people around here call that a Mountain Democrat or maybe a Rocky Atkins Democrat. Is that what we call that? And as I spoke to people at the doors and being able to say, oh, I'm a Democrat, or I'm a Democrat, but not like them, to be able to say, let me tell you why I'm a Democrat and tell them my story. And instead of having doors closed in my face, it was doors opening and being invited into those homes, being invited into those rooms. And as I left, I didn't know if I had their votes, but I had so many Republicans say, I'm going to tell people about you. Because when you share that why, your values, your core, that's not left and right and red and blue. That is like humanity. It is compassion, it is decency, and it's the things that we care about as Americans, whether you're in our biggest cities like Louisville or you're down here in Calloway County. So I think that service went a long way to flipping that seat. I think talking about those Kentucky values that apply to all of us, but also showing up every single day. I think I knocked over 15,000 doors in the 45th House District. And the people, they knew they couldn't go out on the street without seeing me every day. They were probably sick of it. But they knew if I would work that hard to get their vote on one day, I would probably show up for them every day and work for them in Frankfort. And that's what I've tried to do ever since, to work up and treat them right as a representative. So again, we can flip seats, but the reason it's important to flip seats, number one, you all want someone to represent you because your values should be in Frankfort. If Lauren had been in Frankfort, your values would be represented through Lauren in that chamber. If nothing else, she would have been there for you, holding the ground for you there. Now, most of us as freshmen, you can't do that much. You try to learn people's names and where the bathrooms are, and that's pretty much it. But there are meaningful things you can do. You can file bills like my Houses Are Homes bill to make sure that Kentuckians have the first shot to buy single-family homes before giant corporations can swoop in and turn them into investment properties. Things like my Compassionate Care Act to make sure that our mothers with non-viable pregnancies have options that they don't currently have under Kentucky law. And even when those don't pass into law in my first year, it's important that they are out there, that we have discussions, that you know that common sense Democrats are fighting for real issues that impact real Kentuckians. But it wasn't just moral issues. It wasn't just trying to do the right thing. In my first year, I filed a caregivers voting bill to make it easier for caregivers to vote early absentee with those they can afford. We were able to get that bill added into one from the majority that was signed by the governor and then passed the law. So by flipping that seat, we now make it easier for caregivers in Kentucky to go and vote. There are many caucuses in Frankfort, ways for people to get together and work on issues that are important to them outside of the rigid committee structure. Some of them do a lot, some of them don't do a lot. There was no Veterans Caucus. I was able to found, with the approval of the Senate President and Speaker of the House, a Veterans Caucus, which I now chair, in which we are going to be having our first press conference on November the 6th to release our legislative priorities that we will pass to make a difference for Kentucky's military, veterans, and their families in Kentucky in 2026 because we flipped that seat. And one thing I want to tell you about is I had an epinephrine affordability bill that we could cap the price of EpiPens, things that could save your life, to no more than $100 a year, so that no one is priced out of life-saving health care. And we passed that through the House of Representatives 88-0, and next year we have the votes lined up. We have people in the sponsor to carry it lined up. We will get it through the Senate. We will get it to the governor's desk. I hope you'll help us with that, Rocky. And we will make sure that every Kentucky can afford epinephrine EpiPens after 2026. I am just one guy in that chamber, and I'm a one guy who's a freshman. But that's why it's so important that we flip these seats. Whether they're purple seats, red seats, run candidates and run hard along with them. Show up alongside them, because I did not do it on my own. I did a lot, but not all of it at all on my own. Find a candidate you can believe in, get behind them, get beside them, and be with them day in and day out as much as you can, whether it's through your time, your talent, or your treasure, because you never know the bill they're going to pass, the Congress they're going to form, or the next law that they are going to get passed. So again, it can be done, and when it's done, great things for our state can happen. I think I'm a testament to that. I want to keep doing that. I hope you all can help send me back to Frankfort so I can keep working and help Governor Beshear have that success there in Frankfort. But it's so great to be with you all today. I'd love to stick around and talk to you all after I'm done. But again, thank you so much for letting me be here with you all tonight.
taller than everybody else. So let me just make this easy. How about that? Well, let me first of all thank you all. My goodness, what a crowd we have here tonight in Calloway County, Mary, Kentucky. Give yourself a big round of applause. You know, I stand here tonight with more energy, I think, than I've ever had. Ready to fight the fight. I know you are as well. A more important time, without question, than any time in my political life. And I've had the unbelievable honor of serving in the Kentucky House for 33 years of my life. And I always admire those folks that have the courage to put their name on the ballot and to be that voice, to stand tall against the issues, the struggles, the chaos that we're seeing in today's political arena. Folks, it's not easy to put your name on the ballot in today's political divide. With social media and network news and all of those negativities out there, it is really tough. Not just as an individual, but for your family. So those folks that stood up here tonight that are elected, and those who have their name on the ballot, let's give them a big round of applause for the courage that they have. You know, folks, I've had an unbelievable experience in my time in the political arena. I've had an unbelievable experience from being raised in a little small rural community, the left-hand fork of Middle Fork in Elliott County. And man, you want to talk about the New Deal. Let me tell you, my daddy will talk to you about the New Deal. They didn't have enough money. They didn't know they were poor because everybody else was poor. And my daddy can tell you the first time he turned a light switch on as a kid, he said it was the brightest thing he ever saw. The New Deal. Rural electrification. So a guy like me raised in rural Kentucky, you can better believe the folks in Calloway County and the folks that are represented from different counties here tonight that live in rural Kentucky. As long as Rocky Atkins is in Frankfort, Kentucky, rural Kentucky will have a seat at the table, and it'll be on the front row. I got to take a little trip today when I got here. And you may have heard that part of my story is I was the point guard for Morehead State University and the team captain. And every time almost, Alex, that I come to Murray and Calloway County, I go to Old Racer Arena. I usually came out of Racer Arena with knots on my head, to be very honest. But what an environment. What a place to play. I attempted to guard Lamont Sleets. Hood, Hooker, and Green. But that memory of going in that arena of, well, 4,700 people and the fire marshal on vacation, probably 7,000 people. Yeah. What an experience to be there today before I came here. And you know, I have good memories of my last OVC game in Racer Arena. I won't rub it in too bad, okay? But we did win that game. But the experience of that, folks, is part of the arena that we live in today. So my time in public service after I graduated from college and being elected on my 26th birthday, to go to Frankfort, I'd only been to Frankfort one time in my life. And the guy that was our state representative, Ray Brown, passed away with a heart attack, and I had grown up under Ray Brown and Francis Brown's feet. And I will never forget, I'm minding my own business. Sunday afternoon, had never thought of being in the political arena. Not a cell phone, but the phone on the wall. We didn't have cell phones, rang. And on the other end of that cell phone, or on that wall phone, was a voice, and it was Francis Brown. She was filling out her late husband's term. And Francis Brown said, "Rocky, we've had a meeting." I said, "Who's had it?" "We've had a meeting. And we have made a decision that we are going to have you run for state representative and fill the seat of my late husband." And I said, "Miss Brown, I've never thought about being politics." She said, "You better be thinking about it now." She said, "Because we're going to help you get elected." And folks, they did. On the ground and in the trenches. Door to door, eyeball to eyeball, phone call to phone call, just the good old Democrat way. Hauling voters to the polls, on the ground, working the ground when you could, handing out cards. My grandfather working that precinct, he worked, hauled votes in there all day long, and they rang out the votes that night in the little Willet County precinct, his precinct, in the courthouse. He smoked them sawed-off Camel cigarettes. He was a fox hunter. He had a little camper on the back of that truck, hauled them in there all day, and the votes came in. And I'm standing at the window of the clerk's office, my dad here, my granddad over here. Now listen, folks, my granddad, let me tell you something, worked like a barred mule. Worked like a barred mule all of his life. Helped build America. I mean, a union laborer that helped build America. And you want to know why I'm a Democrat? I lived in a family that taught me why we are Democrats. A party that stands up for working families, a party that stands up for organized labor, a party that stands up to build good infrastructure across this country, a party that stands up for public education, a party that stands up for access to quality health care, a party that stands up to live in a safe community. That's why I'm a Democrat. And a party that treats people with dignity and respect.
Yes.
Dignity and respect. My mother, only time she would ever have that red streak coming up her neck when she saw somebody like me disrespect somebody else. Folks, let me tell you, I'm no different than you. I got up just like you did this morning. I put my pants on exactly the way you do, one leg at a time. I was raised in a family that taught me hard work, taught me dignity and respect. And my mother always taught me, you better treat other people the way you want to be treated. Exactly. Wouldn't that be nice in Washington, D.C. right now if we had people treating people with dignity and respect?
Yes.
So we gathered at that window that night. And the votes came in. The clerk comes out and says, "Courthouse, precinct number 1, my granddaddy's precinct." He's standing there with black coffee and that cigarette, he's shaking. They read that precinct and they say, "Rocky Atkins, 485. And my opponent, 15. Listen to me. This old mule trainer, Camel smoking cigarette guy, he hits me with an elbow like Lamont Sleets used to hit me with here at Murray, and he said, "I wonder who in the hell those 15 votes were that voted against you." He said, "I bet it was them Kitchens. I bet it was them Flannerys." And the day he died, folks, he's still trying to find them 15 coming. So if you want to know what it takes to win elections, just take my grandfather's advice. He knew how to win. But you know, folks, these years that I've had in the legislature, of 33 years. But let me tell you something. You know where I've been the last 6, don't you? The last 6 years, I've been the senior advisor to the most popular governor in the United States of America. have been the most interesting of my now almost 39 years in Frankfurt. The last 6 years, we have faced the most unprecedented challenges of my lifetime. This governor took office 3 months in. We have a global pandemic. The governor takes me in his office and he said, I hired you as my senior advisor. What's your advice on the global pandemic? I said, Governor, you asked the wrong guy. I said, all I can tell you is try to protect our people, but also try to keep the economy of this Commonwealth moving forward. You know, folks, we came out of COVID and this governor made decisions of the information that he was given from doctors and science and the evidence that we needed. And I'm here to tell you that I think the actions of our governor saved thousands of lives across this Commonwealth of Kentucky. I believe that. And you know, you may not have always agreed with decisions that he made during this time. You know, I found out it's a lot easier to hit a jump shot after my last game against Syracuse in the NCAA tournament, sitting in the bleachers. I hadn't made a turnover, missed a shot since my last game. But you know, when you didn't agree with the governor, he explained to you why he made the decision, right? Yeah. And at 4 o'clock every afternoon, yes, you either had a cup of coffee, a soda, a cold beer, or a bourbon, and you were watching Andy Bashir on TV at 4 o'clock every afternoon. And then we come out of COVID, and here in West Kentucky, the natural disasters we've had of tornadoes. And the governor's been on the ground not only the next day, but he's been there for the long haul. And then after that, we have a tidal wave that hits eastern Kentucky, folks. I'm honest, a tidal wave. And we have fatalities both in the west and in the east. I mean, natural disasters like we've never seen. And matter of fact, since this governor has been governor, we have had 14 declared natural disasters since this governor has been governor over the last now almost 6 years. But folks, coming out of that, you have seen his leadership during unprecedented challenges. But you've seen his leadership coming out of COVID when Kentucky has broken every record when it comes to economic development and private sector investment. Folks, that is Democratic leadership. Democratic leadership. We have seen record-breaking, nothing close to it. Now $44 billion of private sector investment here in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Folks, that is Democratic leadership. Democratic leadership. Created since COVID 64,000 new jobs at Kentucky's highest wages in the history of Kentucky. Folks, that is Democratic leadership that you're seeing firsthand. We have the largest budget reserve trust fund in the history of Kentucky. Every credit rating agency has rated us positive on our financial stability. We have broken every tourism record over the last 3 years, and we've broken every export record here in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Folks, I don't know about you, but I'm proud of the Democratic leadership that Andy Bashir has brought here to this Commonwealth. And when you talk about infrastructure that's helped create that, let's talk about the infrastructure that Andy Bashir has led in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. The roads and the bridges. Northern Kentucky and Cincinnati, guess what? You're getting a new companion bridge coming from Cincinnati over into Northern Kentucky because of the Democratic leadership of Andy Bashir. You're getting that. You're getting the I-69 bridge and that extension in Henderson here in West Kentucky to free up the traffic flow and bring economic development to West Kentucky. That is Democratic leadership. And folks, I will tell you where I come from. A road that has been promised ever since I've been alive. the last phase of the Mountain Parkway from Sayersville to Prestonsburg, a major 4-lane highway connecting US 23 with I-64 in Winchester, a major 4-lane highway from those coal miners and those railroad workers and those steel workers in East Kentucky that helped build America, folks. They've earned and they deserve to have a 4-lane highway, and this governor has brought that to Kentucky. So we have 2 years left, and we're going to keep this pedal to the metal. We're not going to let up, folks. And let me tell you, we're going to keep the pressure on. We're going to keep the pressure on. When people are wrong, we're going to be loud, and we're going to be strong, as this governor has been and will continue to be. We are going to continue this last 2 years to understand that it is important in this political divide that we bring common sense and we bring common ground. In this political divide, it is important that we unite people instead of divide people.
Here, here.
My definition of public service is to get up every day and try to find a way to help somebody instead of a way to hurt somebody. My definition of public service. My definition of public service is trying to find a way to help a community be a better place where people can have a better life. So I would say to those people who get up every day with a different definition than mine, those people that are in public service, they get up every day with their definition to try to hurt somebody instead of help somebody. I would say to them, get your foot off of their neck and quit breaking their neck. Lift your hand down, help them up, and let's unite people to make this country the best it can possibly be. So I don't know about you folks, but I believe this fight's worth fighting.
Here, here.
I believe with all of my heart that I'm in it to win it. I believe that we're right on the issues, and you can't tell me that folks believe that it's good when we get up and kick somebody in the rear end every day, and the people that do that like it. The definition of public service is to get up every day, unite people, lift people up, help people have a better life. Get your foot off of their neck, and let's make sure we have the dignity and respect for people that they deserve. My daddy would always tell me, Rocky, everybody's not like you and I. It's a good thing. It'd be a pretty boring world if they were. But you know, everybody's a little bit different. And why can't we respect that? Why can we not have dignity for that? And why can we not do what my mother taught me? Treat your neighbor the way you want to be treated.
We can.
Treat your people the way you want to be treated. So I believe that every bit of my soul in my body, that people climb out of bed every day. Those folks that strapping on with hard hats and steel-toed boots. Those folks that go to the offices every day. Folks that get up and make sure their kids get to school. Here's what the governor and I believe. That they're tired of the noise. They're tired of the anger.
Yes.
They're tired of the hate.
Yes.
They're tired just because somebody may have an R out for another name and I've got a D out for my name that I'm not supposed to like them.
Not true.
It is really sad that we can't have a debate in this country anymore. A debate where we may disagree but not be disagreeable. As majority leader and minority leader in the House, man, me and Jeff Hoover went at it. We debated the issues that we disagreed on. And when it was over, we left it all on the court. We went outside and shook hands, went and had dinner, and figured out a way to come to the middle and reach compromise, the very compromise that built the very democracy of this country. And we need to get back to it, and we need to get back to it as quick as we can. Amen. So I know I've gone on and I could preach here all night. But for a government that would cut $1 trillion out of Medicaid, for a government that would take food out of children's mouths by cutting food stamps. Food stamps. Got other names for it. There you go. That's exactly right. But what I would say to you is this. A government that would do that, folks, and have the impact on rural Kentucky this could have. Closing 35 rural hospitals. Taking $5 billion out of Kentucky and the Medicaid reimbursements that go back to our hospitals over a 10-year period. Folks, let me tell you something in eastern Kentucky and even in west Kentucky. Since the downturn of the coal economy in the east, thousands of jobs lost. The one industry that's continued to invest and grow, and the one industry that's continued to employ and re-employ our people that's lost their jobs is the healthcare industry. And I'm here to tell you tonight, as a cancer survivor, regardless of where you live, you ought to be able to take your family or yourself here at home and see a specialist and not have to drive 2 hours. There is nobody who voted for that bill that can stand in front of you and defend why they did that.
Amen.
Let me tell you what it's time to do. If you're really going to represent people, quit sitting up there and bowing to this president and start representing your people back in your districts. You know, I really think people get up every morning and they probably are not in the same frame of mind I'm in about turning on the news immediately to see what's going on CNN or wherever. Most people get up every morning and they worry about where they got a job, where they put food on the table and a roof over their head. They worry about whether they have safe bridges and roads to drive their family on. They worry about whether they got good public schools to take their kids to get a good education. They worry about the quality of health care in their community, and if they get sick or their family gets sick, they can take them there. And they worry about whether they live in a safe community. Well, folks, let me tell you, I believe that's the democratic principles of why I'm a Democrat. And I stand here tonight more proud to be a Democrat than I ever have in my life, because I know what we stand for. So I will just say this as I close. I am so appreciative for this invitation. Folks, if you get in your car right now and you head to Ashland, Kentucky, where I live outside of Ashland, and I live in Frankfort through the week. As you might know, it's a pretty good little trip. But let me tell you something, this trip's worth it. You see a room full here of energy. People that want to be engaged and be involved. People that want to live up to the principles of exactly what communities were built on. The dignity, the respect, the economy, the good places that we were raised and we love. So I would just end my comments tonight. Are you in it to win it?
Yeah.
Are you in it to win it?
Yeah.
Do you believe this fight's worth fighting?
Yeah.
And do you believe it's worth being engaged to change the direction of this country and change the direction of this great Commonwealth of Kentucky? Folks, I'm Rocky Atkins, and I'm honored to be the senior advisor to Governor Andy Beshear. Let's fight this fight together. Thank you all.